Hey, everyone. It's Isaiah again. I've been live twice today. So I'm with Chris. Hi, Chris, again.
Hello.
And we are doing our series of interviews with our 2023 speakers for the Women Lighting the Way Summit. And at this minute, we are meeting with Christy Iris. Hi, Christy.
Hello.
So
Hi,
before we start talking about Christy herself, I want to remind everyone, if you do not yet have a ticket, a free ticket for the for the Women Lighting the Way Summit, which is happening this weekend, grab it now. You can find the link above or below the video or somewhere, and in the comments, hopefully. So 14 speakers, 14 women sharing their stories. I have been this year literally floored by the depth, the fun, the deepness, the sadness, the importance of those stories. And the one word that I want to use is rawness, but I'm not even sure the word exists, but you see what I mean. That our speakers agreed to literally get naked, kind of.
Yes.
And that is so powerful. That is so powerful how these stories get to enlighten and empower us. So get signing. It's free. You get 1 week's replay. You get freebies. You get giveaways. You get offers. You get the whole lot. But mostly you get to listen to these amazing women. And today I'm very excited to speak with Christy for various reasons. Reason number one, she's my bestie, one of my besties on the interwebs that I've never met in real life, but just you wait.
It's coming.
It's coming.
Yes, it's coming. Yeah.
But second reason is Christy is the one and only alumna. So you've actually been, except for Chris and myself, who obviously have been here since day one, but you have been here since day one. And not only have you been here as a speaker, but you were kind of hosting the space for the summit to be born.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
In one of your legendary power hours. That's where the ideas was born. The idea was born, and the collaboration between Chris and myself started to happen. So before we actually get to know you, I want to thank you again, because this is really, for me, it has now become a project with legs, as we say. So this thing is having a life of its own. And I feel that it's now part of my life mission to compile this library of women's stories and to offer them to the world. And I'm deeply honored that you agreed to come and share a third story with us. And to be very honest, I was kind of worried. I was like, is there anything that I don't know about Christy? As in, not as I don't know, but is there anything that she can add to the depth of her story? And ladies and gentlemen, yes, there freaking is. And that is very reassuring to me, because that means that we all have way more than one story. And sometimes when we speak about ourselves, we limit to the one big story, the one often traumatic story. But you are here to witness that, no, we have more than one, so many more. So thank you. First, thank you. My first question, as is per every speaker on this year, is because I'm really excited that this summit is global, that we have women from all over the world, and that we are creating this library of global women's stories. My first question would be, where are you from?
Oh, it's funny. That feels like it should be a really simple, straightforward answer. And I don't even, I grew up in the Northeast.
Of the United States.
Am I?
Just
Of the United States, in case you can't tell by my American accent, I'm American. Yep. And I have lived here in Florida for almost 9 years. And I always feel like when I meet people from I do a lot of co-working and with different people around the world. And when I meet new people, I'm always feel like I have to go, I'm not from here. And because everybody knows like a Florida man, right? And it is weird. And now it's become, honestly, I know, you're not supposed to talk about religion and politics and all that kind of stuff but I'm not a
I
should
run a
kind of
podcast
person.
called Things We Don't Talk About. So you
talk about.
feel
Yeah,
free.
well, here's the whole thing we don't talk about is really how utterly, shatteringly heartbreaking it is to live in Florida right now, in 2023, as somebody, who is, to jump on a cliche, woke. I care about people. I think everybody deserves and is, just the same basic human rights, let alone elevation of letting our spirits have a place to soar. So yeah, it's a real challenge.
So yeah, it is
living
relevant
here.
where you are from and
Yeah,
where
watch
you are.
those rainbow lights. The rainbow lights behind you, Christy, might give you away. Like, is it safe to have rainbow lights behind me as a Florida resident right now?
I will tell you honestly, so the street is behind me, and I have windows that you can see in, and across from me, these lights are important to me and lifting me up. I know, I love how people are always like, oh, I love your lights, and people identify me through them, but they were there first and foremost for me. So I actually have them across from me as well that people can't see, but you can see them in through the windows. And I do honestly sometimes, I am honestly kind of careful at night that they're not shining out to the street. Like, honestly, yes, I do. Yeah. Like, there will be
That's
no,
nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's try to lift our spirits a little bit, if that's okay with you guys.
Yeah.
It's.
But it's important for you to be
I
there.
know.
It's important for you to be there.
I mean, this is part of, and honestly, I'm in the middle of stuff that it's part of my story that I can't share right now, that I don't feel comfortable sharing. For me,
that'll be next year.
Next year, I hope next year I can share, and it's a happy, like, this is, and I have to believe that this is just a blip, an episode of,
this is season 25, and you know what? It's been renewed for a new season, but they're changing location.
Yeah. So
it's not going to be filmed in Canada.
Oh my gosh, I don't own enough socks to live in Canada. I mean, I don't.
I remember this conversation.
Anything else, the thought, because people are like, well, why don't you just move? And it's like, well, that's a really complicated
You don't just move.
thing.
Being the person,
you don't just move.
Being the person who has moved more than 20 times in her life, I can tell you don't just move. Never, ever.
No.
You move. Sometimes you choose. Sometimes the move chooses you, but you don't just move. It's always an adventure. Uh-oh. Is it me breaking up?
Oh.
Christy just got a little laggy.
Okay, so I think it's you, Christy. You can't hear me. Oh, that's annoying.
It'll come back.
We can't hear you either.
Mm-hmm.
There you are. You're back.
Okay, now you can hear me.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for some reason. So let's go for the obvious question. How many pairs of socks do you own?
Gosh, maybe a dozen at the very most. But, it's like I wear them in the mornings because my feet are cold from the air conditioning that I turn down at night. Year round.
I hear
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
So, Chris, do you have any questions for Christy?
Yeah, I wonder if this is a question that we've talked about before. Are there any movies that you think you've seen like 100 times? Is there one movie that you've seen like many, 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 many times?
I would have to say the one that pops into mind is Legally Blonde. I
Oh,
was,
okay.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I,
and that brings me to thank you very much for introducing me to that movie, which I'd never seen before you. And it
Oh,
was like I now must have seen it 20 times because every time I really feel down, I go and listen to Elwood. She just so makes me, elevates the mood really so much.
yeah. Yeah.
good one.
Because I have to also admit, I just like, I think in the last couple days, just Googled, like, I've heard that there's a part 3 they're making, and I wanted to find out like when it might be coming out.
Oh,
Of course.
fun. That would be interesting. Oh, they could totally do that. I could totally see that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I love how they're bringing movies back that we grew up with or as young adults. And, I went to see Top Gun in the movie theater with my dad for Father's
Wow.
Day. Was that just yesterday? 2 days ago.
Wow.
And so then I came home and I watched Maverick, the one that was just made like 30 years later.
Mhm.
And they did such a beautiful job of like paying homage to the characters and their backstory. It was very satisfying, really.
Yeah, I agree. I did the reverse thing. I watched Maverick when it came out over the winter, and I had so much fun. I thought, hey, let me go and watch the original, and I was so disappointed. It was like, oh, I like Tom Cruise better now, and I like the whole story. I thought was yeah, it's not always the case that 20 years after is better, but it's interesting in any case. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Isaiah, you recommended a fun movie to me, and I watched it once and thought it was hilarious. And then we needed something to watch a week ago, and my husband actually sat down to watch it, and I laughed again. And what was it? The Lost City? Is that
Yeah,
with Chatton?
The Lost City, I think it's called.
Yeah, with
Sandra
Sandra
Bullock,
Bullock.
Channing Tatum, and Brad Pitt, and Daniel Radcliffe.
Oh my gosh.
It is not what I would
It's
call
so
a big
funny.
movie or artistic movie, but it's so much fun. So much fun. And having
it is fun.
Brad Pitt making himself look ridiculous is worth for me.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, his character is completely obnoxiously ridiculous.
Oh. But if you do watch it, if anyone hasn't watched it, go through the credits, because I didn't do that the first time and I did it the second time.
Oh, okay.
So,
I haven't. I will go then.
Like, it's so funny when my kids and I go to movies now, animated movies, we always have to sit through the credits because you never know if there's going to be something at the end.
And my last, another question, not last, I don't know. Another question would be, so how was it the third time around to, sit with your notebook or your computer and say, what am I going to be talking about this year?
Yeah.
Was it more comfortable?
Well, it definitely, the process, you two have created such a beautiful process behind the scenes of walking us through all the things. There's a lot of stuff to get ready and together, and you do such a beautiful job. And we just so behind the scenes, people. There's like, I'm going to pull the curtain back a little bit. There's a Facebook group for just the speakers that we connect and support each other. And there's a beautiful sisterhood that forms that way. And so, at least I knew what to expect of all the things we needed to do to get ready, to have something free to give everybody and, a giveaway and all the, there's technology that has to go into putting all that together. That did not daunt me, fortunately.
Yeah.
Me. Miracle of I mean, there were certainly moments that I'm like, but I also had to sit and go like, well, geez, do I have like another story to tell? And last year I took y'all on a little tour of my home. I was newly had split up with my child's father, and so we were and we had stayed. My kid and I had stayed in the house, and so we were reclaiming our home. And I kind of went through my home and talked about different areas of my home. And I thought I would share with everyone who signs up for my class. I figured I would also just, after the talk, I would send you a link so you can watch that too. So I went through my home and shared, and I thought about, because it's been a year later of like more reclaiming. But I realized like something so near and dear to my heart is my creative life and my spiritual life, and how they come together, and how they inform, the other work the work I do with Fizome, with people's homes. But I'm also multi-passionate, so I still do some theater design that fits into my life. I don't do big projects. I do smaller projects right now, which is delightful and soul-filling. So I just realized, like, because I say that I work with conscious creatives, and I thought, and suddenly I went like, well, that would be a good exploration, Christy, of what that actually means to me. Like, how have I become to realize I'm a conscious creative? So that's, and I found that I had a lot to talk about.
Yeah, because when I launched the invitation for our alumna, saying, who wants to come again, since you already had come twice, I was really kind of surprised that you immediately said yes. And I was not really sure that you already knew what you were going to be talking about, but you trusted that you had a story, and indeed you had another one. So now,
Yes.
the challenge is what about next year? We'll see when we get.
Yeah.
Well, I have like a little, the summit holds such a dear place in my heart. I was there when it like hatched out of the egg, and Chris talking about wanting to do a summit, and even like doing something and traveling. And this is, we all connected like the summer of 2020. And so we were all like in different parts of the world, locked down in different ways. In Florida, we were not really locked down, but anyway, we did. I mean, I did, my family did, because a lot of people weren't. So to have sat there and watched Chris go, well, I think, and I think Isaiah at one point goes, well, I've got the software, and and Chris is just talking, and Isaiah's like, we're gonna do this. Like, I've got the software. We can do it online first. And Chris is like, and I think this is, and this is, I'm sure if you stick around a little bit, like, this is so their person. And Isaiah's like, because Isaiah's like, get it done. And Chris is like,
Yeah.
got ideas. This would be fun. Like, let's do a summit. And Isaiah is like, I'm going to do that. I just got software to do it. And the software is brilliant. And Isaiah is brilliant. And
they have improved the software this year, amazingly.
Yeah. Awesome. So, it like,
that was a good deal. Goodbye.
I figured if you wanted me, I wanted to show up, and I love telling stories. I love stories. I think they're so powerful. They, I've been doing this work of Fizome, Fizome Your Home for like 23 years now. And in the beginning, before the internet, really, I would do a lot of live talks, and people would always say, like, it was that story that you told in the talk. That was the thing. And I mean, being a theater designer, costume sets, lighting, it's all about storytelling. Stories are so powerful. I am technically a visual artist who doesn't like to work alone. So hence I work with entertainers, and I'm usually I'm the only one in the room that cares what anybody's wearing or what it looks like. And so in some ways it's a weird, lonely job at the same time, because I'm the only one that really cares about that part of my job. But then there's the beauty of everybody's like that, and everybody's doing their part to tell this story and to take an audience on a journey from the beginning to the end. And we, as the creators, take a journey as well to figure out how to tell this story. I mean, we get a script with a black and white words and
and then
and
it
on
becomes
paper,
something.
PDF, and at the end you have to have a fully formed story to tell people. So
I was
when you were I figured this year, if you were like going to ask me to come back, I would say yeah.
Well, we might ask you next year. Well, we'll ask you next year, because as I was saying, this project now has legs. It's walking on its own. It's got a little sister project, which I want to talk about again, which is I really want, and I think we agree with Chris on that. I really want to make the past stories, so the stories from the previous years, available to everyone. So I don't know how it's going to take to be born, but I'm guessing, once we have closed the 1 year mark of each summit, they will then go and live somewhere where they can be accessed for free. And so the library of women's stories grows. And I know that we're not the only ones doing that in the world, which is amazing. So many. But I believe that we need more women's stories. We need them widely spread from people who can access them at any time, any hour of the day, basically. And so I don't know yet exactly what kind of software is going to do for that one. It might end up as a YouTube channel or something more fancy. We'll see. But this is happening before the end of this year. We will have something in place for the past summits to be, the past stories of the previous summits to be available. And so, the project is ongoing, let's say this.
Yes.
And we are, again, very grateful to you for having been the nest for it, or the organizer of the nest for it. And for coming to speak and sharing your stories with us and with every alumna. If you have not got your ticket, go and buy one. It's free. And the stories are amazing, really. This year, I must say, it's been, because Chris was not very much available, so I had to step up and kind of do a lot of the things on my own, which was fine. But then the one thing that I missed the most was not the work part. It was not being able to share ASAP how impressed I was by the story. And this year I've been literally humbled by all the stories, and I think that we must be doing something right if women trust us with that depth of stories.
That's the big one. The
very,
trust,
very much,
right?
And we always see ourselves in other people's stories. We have another, we'll pull back the thing. We have, the speakers have access to everybody, all the speakers. So we text when we do the live panels over this weekend. And I think every one of them, I paused and go, oh my God, and had some kind of thing I needed to write down for myself.
Absolutely. So you're emphasizing what I've just said. Go and get yourself a ticket and listen to these talks. You have a week of free replays. We go live this weekend, and come and listen to the live panels as well, so you can get to meet our speakers in a more crazy and formal way. So I've got to
ask questions about their talks.
And ask questions, absolutely. So you will find the link to sign up everywhere. And if you don't find it, just reach out to me. I will send you a link. Thank you very much, Christy, for sharing with us. We've been taking very long of your time. Thanks, Chris, for being here. And we'll see you tomorrow with more speakers. And bye for now.